What's up? Welcome back. I'm John Stark from ActionMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and I've got some magazine dreams for you. I've got some dreams about magazines, just not creepy at all, just regular magazines, not just I don't know, good housekeeping, whatever. And I want to talk to you about them. So click like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we're gonna get into some magazine dreams here. I'm a blind film critic, so I use audio description. This film does have audio description. It's done by Deluxe, and it's where other people say they go into things blind. I love that. I love following all these YouTube channels and like, oh, in this film blind. I'm like, wow, did you? That must have been like a crazy experience for you. Did you have like, did you get the cane? Did you like do the whole thing? Did you? Anyway, uh, so yeah, I go into everything blind. So that's what the perspective is here. So this is the Jonathan Majors film, and it debuted at the 2023 Sundance Film Festival, where it was picked up, and then the Jonathan Majors stuff happened, and then this film has languished. I think Briarcliff ended up releasing it. Real talk, Jonathan Majors would have an Oscar nomination if Jonathan Majors hadn't been Jonathan Majors. This is a completely transformative performance. He plays Killian Maddox, who's this wannabe bodybuilder who really does not have the mental capacity to be anything, really, to put boxes on shelves. I mean, like, he's, this dude struggles, but there are times where he seems nice, where he's just, like, trying to be, and he's kind of like a lonely boy. There are other scenes that are incredibly unnerving. There's scenes where he gets like randomly beat up too, and he has to survive it. But like his reaction to things are just totally different. And it's like there's this rage that boils under the surface that you don't really see until kind of like the end of the movie. He has a hard time coping with things and processing his rage, which almost leads to uh there are steps that are taken towards the end of the film that insinuate and make you go, oh, is this where we're headed? And I kept waiting for the film to go even darker. But it does end up just kind of ending. So it's this weird sort of mental trip, this dark psychological thriller. It's very interesting. It's a very solid case study of like a human being that Jonathan Majors has created here. I think people should watch it. I think people, just because of what it is and what we're saying and what the director's trying to say through Jonathan Majors and the craft, I think everything about Magazine Dreams is a solid film. It feels like a modern day Taxi Driver or Raging Bull. It feels like that. It's got that kind of vibe to it with, it's like if A24 made one of those movies, it came out Magazine Dreams. That's what it feels like. This one feels like it should have been A24, which is why it makes sense that Neon originally acquired it, and I guess Briarcliff. But c'est la vie. The other sort of notable actors, Haley Bennett, Taylor Page, Harriet Sanson. I was gonna remember her third name. I know she's done a bunch of things like BBC related. So yeah, this is a weird trip. It's not even, you're like, well, what is it about? I don't know what it's about. It's just sort of about Killian having aspirations but being deeply inadequate, and also not really mentally stable enough to carry him out. He's not dangerous like the whole film, but I mean, when you do steroids and cocaine, and it's sort of like a call to, like a warning call about leaving men in garages or basements, to their own devices. And Lonely Boys, there's a scene that he has where it's very unnerving, but there's nothing really much that happens. I didn't realize until the scene was over that he was filming himself the whole time, and it looks like he was uploading the whole, like, it was a live stream, or either that or else he uploaded the entire video, which is insane. But he kept doing, like, multiple takes of, like, "Hey, man, it's me. Hey, I'm Killian. I'm a future bodybuilder winner," and and then he like get into it, and like the whole comment section are like, "Why hasn't this guy killed himself? What did I just watch?" Like it's that kind of like reaction to it. It's also very indicative of what we're willing to say to somebody in a YouTube video, but whatever. And somebody like him, I don't think can handle that. I think the reaction is when he's looking so much for approval and for praise, I don't think he can handle those comments. So, yeah, this film goes in dark places, but Killian is not inherently an evil person throughout the whole movie. You're not watching somebody who's like a serial killer or something like that, but you feel like you're watching somebody who could be, who because of life, because of situations and the way that they're mentally not structured in a way to be able to cope or handle the things that life throws them. And they're fractured. I think what would have been really interesting would have been to see some shots of Killian as a kid and get that thrown in there. If I could reflect a little bit more on Magazine Dreams, is like, what did he look like when he was younger? What caused him to want to grow up and be a bodybuilder? I think those sort of like self-actualization, realization things are the only thing that really could have propelled Magazine Dreams more. Other than that, it did feel a little bit long because, again, it kind of isn't really a plot. It's kind of more of a concept. It's kind of more of a character study. So character studies are as interesting as you make them. He does have, I mean, the plot, I guess, is he wants to be a famous bodybuilder, but there's not like really, that's not really the plot. I don't know. It doesn't really have the same kind of like obvious 3-act structure. It's just kind of watching him react and evolve as the environment around him shapes and molds him and pushes him and kicks him down, and he hears no, and the world that he dreams of himself becomes further and further out of reach. Jonathan Majors is incredible here. I know we're not supposed to say things like that, but he is. It's and he should kick himself in the face because he knocked himself out of an Oscar nomination for this. I fully believe that. I don't know who in the last, whether they would release this in 2023 or 2024, but somebody would have lost their spot and this would have been an Oscar nomination. Because if there was no reason to not like Jonathan Majors, he was on the come up. He was rising. And this film would have been impossible to not get him across the finish line in. He's so different. It's so transformative. I've never seen Jonathan Majors do anything remotely close to this level. He's completely changed his persona, the way that he speaks, everything. There's a softness to him, but it's deeply troubling at the same time. It's a very different performance than like Creed 3, like I'm trying to think of like other movies. Very different, which, I mean, he was a badass fighter in that, but he had a very different style and approach to that. So sadly, Majors has proven himself to be incredibly gifted, but he's also put himself in a position where the world doesn't really want to see his gift and would rather give other actors the opportunity. And people do that to themselves. And, whether or not Majors makes a comeback at any point in his life is going to depend upon whether or not Hollywood lets him. And some actors have started to crawl back up out of their thing, but they don't really ever come back to the same level. I know Kevin Spacey's thinking that he's going to come back and like win an Oscar or something, but yeah, I mean, like, yeah, Louis C.K. does comedy now, but it's not the same thing. He doesn't have a hit show anymore, There are some other actors that are kind of acting a little bit here and there, but they're not doing the same level of stuff they were doing before. Yeah, so I mean, just look at Mel Gibson, at what Hollywood's willing to let him do versus what he used to be capable of and the kind of films and roles that he took on. And for a while there, it looked like we were accepting Mel Gibson as he was, and he was getting, major offers. And that kind of depleted pretty quickly. And then now he's done a lot of straight to video stuff or straight to streaming or whatever, straight to VOD, whatever. And his like directorial stuff, like Flight Risk, is like nowhere near where he was with Braveheart. In terms of the project itself or the complexities of it or even the skill level. So, yeah, I mean, you might be able to come back, but it's not, I have yet to see somebody come back and roar back to like the same or stronger level. Really, Robert Downey Jr. was the only one, and his was very much like self-harm shenanigans that he had to get over himself. He didn't really hurt anybody or zaw him. It was something that he just had to overcome. So we'll see if Jonathan Majors has the potential, but should you see Magazine Dreams? I think so. Yeah, definitely. Deluxe's description is really pretty good. There's a lot of trying to get this this track together. I love the tidy whities. That was such a weird thing. I love that we can't just say underwear anymore or briefs. We called it tidy whities. And I was like, that is such a colloquial term for underwear to put it in description. And oftentimes I'm very much like, let's meet the audience where they are. And I was like, what is the audience for Magazine Dreams, and do they use tidy whities? I don't know. I don't know what the target demo is for that. Like, who uses that as the term? So it would be like saying, having an undershirt, right, and calling it a wife beater. It's like, yeah, people call it that, but that's not actually what it's called. And hearing that in audio description would be, so it's very interesting. It's a thought process. So some of these terms that we use where they're not actually the thing that it is, but we're using it. Cool. I mean, yeah, if sometimes it works out because that's the aim of the project and the project has a certain vibe. I don't know if that's the right vibe for Tidy Whities. That's really the only thought that I had throughout the movie. I was like, Tidy Whities, it's an interesting go-to here instead of briefs, but okay. I don't know that it did anything, that it served the film, but yeah. So I don't see a world in which I can't at least recognize Jonathan Majors in some sort of like weird honorable mention thing, because like as I've seen this year, I've seen like 175 movies released so far this year, and it's like halfway through the year. This was the best actor performance that I saw. But then it's like, do you reward it? Like, do I want to put Jonathan Majors on a stage and say, here's a trophy? That's the uncomfortableness of it. And that's the problem that Hollywood is having, because there's no question this is an excellent performance. It's like, just, well, what do you do with it? So, it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating. But I still advocate for the fact, I think this film is well directed, it's well written, the other acting performances are solid and strong. I like the movie. I think, and that's the thing, is that when people don't want to go see a movie because of one person, it's like, it's this art form. It's made by like hundreds of people. And when you kneecap a film over one person, you're sort of stripping away all of the artistic qualities of everyone else. So you can watch Magazine Dreams for everyone, and you can, muse on what Major's performance might have been had he not been who he is. Or You can just pretend like you never saw it and then have nothing to say about it. I would prefer to just sort of watch the art form, and then if I feel uncomfortable with giving Jonathan Majors an award, just not give it to him, and be like, dude, I mean, you would be here, make better life choices, you know, go go think about what you did, go meditate on it, and then come back around. Um, yeah, so it'll be interesting to see if, like, in 20 years, when we finally have settled on what to do with him, if people come back and rediscover this performance. It feels like something that could be rediscovered, that could be unearthed 20 years from now when it's not so fresh, when we're not sitting around thinking about it constantly, and his tabloid bullshit is not right in the center of everybody's brain. Every time they hear the name Jonathan Majors, they think about film instead of what the fuck did he do, you know, which is so true about like a handful of actors where you can't even think about their projects. You just hear the name and you go, oh, yeah, that thing. What movies were they in? I forgot. Like, so, still, I believe, because it's not, there are some things that you can do where you're affecting just the artist, and there aren't nearly as many people who are affected by your lack of, or your protest. Buying a book, for example, a lot less people went into that, and the publisher has, you know, like, that's about it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying you're affecting the corporation. I don't really give a shit, you know. I mean, sucks to be the distributor of Magazine Dreams, but that's not what I'm advocating for. It's like, oh, the poor jobs of those millionaires who run the company. We got to protect them. No, it's not that. But yeah, if it's a lot easier with like an author that you don't like to just not read their book. But then when they adapt that book into a movie, and then you have to bring in all of these other people who do the scores and costume designs and set designs and cinematography and editing, and then you have all like the best boys and the gaffers, and everybody wants to take their families to go see this movie and be like, this is the thing that I spent all that time working on. This was my first film into Hollywood. And it becomes this, and there becomes this stink on it. It just sucks for them. So I try to think about like how many people are involved here versus what it is, and how can we platform it, and how do we have a conversation about peace. So Magazine Dreams is incredibly well directed, has the perfect score. It feels like something that somebody like who is influenced heavily by the kind of Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross scores. The direction reminded me a lot of The Actor, Duke Johnson's The Actor, where it's definitely weird, sort of existential at times. And I thought the rest of the supporting cast did a nice job. The screenplay is nice, tight. It's like I said, it can be a little bit long. So I have a couple complaints. It's a little bit long for what it is, as sort of a meandering character piece propped up by his performance. So, but I still would recommend it. I'm gonna give Magazine Dreams an A-. It was a long journey. It's tough. It's tough to talk about films like this. It is, but you know, the film was already made. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like you're protesting a film that had already happened. It had already premiered at Sundance, and then, you know what I'm saying? So like, the film had already been seen, and then, so there's no reason to hate Magazine Dreams. Just go see the movie. Nobody did anything wrong. They didn't, you know, if you're having a problem with people who cast him now, that's a different story. This was already made. This was in the can, and it had already premiered at Sundance. So anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I'll see you guys on the other side.